everyone. Today we're going to pick up where we left off yesterday, and then we're going to get some practice problems. So this is actually the problem on the back of the worksheet. I'm just doing it on this other paper for a little bit more space for myself. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at kind of the algebra side of using this equation. So let's say that you know that you have a circle with this equation and that you want to find how it intersects with the line x equals 7. Well, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can graph it and find that point of intersection, or you can run through the algebra. Now, I highly recommend not graphing it, because graphing is usually going to give you a slight estimate rather than the exact answer, and we always want to be as exact as possible. So what I did to help me out with this problem is I started out with just a sketch, where this is just a random circle on a graph, and you can see I've got my x and y axis here. Now this circle is random. In fact, I know for sure it does not match this equation even without a scale, because if you look at this, the center of this circle, if this is h and this is k, would be a positive 4 and a negative 2. So really I should be at 4, negative 2. My center would be down here somewhere. But this is just to help me think through what my answer should look like. Well, I know that my circle is going to be something like this, and what I'm trying to find is what coordinates does it share with the line x equals 7? Well, the line x equals 7 is just a vertical line that goes through 7. So I could sketch this in a couple different ways. Now remember, I don't have a scale, so right now I'm just guessing as to what my line x equals 7 will look like compared to my circle. And this is the first possibility. It could go somewhere through the circle and end up hitting in two different points. Notice that it will hit two different points of the circle if it's coming anywhere within this range of that circle. But it is possible that it also comes through exactly on this end or exactly on this end over here, in which case it's only going to hit at one point of the circle. So if x equals 7 were here or here, it's only going to share one point. The last possibility is what happens if I get a line all outside of the circle, like if x equals 7 is somewhere over here or way over here. In that case, it means that there are no solutions. So notice here we do have three possibilities. You could have 0 solutions if it's not hitting the circle anywhere. And if that happens, just keep in mind that your algebra is going to show an error. In fact, it's going to ask you to take the square root of a negative number. So if you see anything like square root of negative 10, well, you can't do that because you can't have the square root of a negative number. So that would mean that you have no solutions. Here, if you have one solution, you're basically going to only have this happen is when you're taking the square root of 0, that will pop up as one solution. And over here will be all the other possibilities where you'll end up with two solutions. So let's see where I'm getting these square roots and why we end up with two solutions by solving this equation. So I know that this is true. And I also know that this is true, x equals 7, and that all of my information with the circle should be accurate. So what that means is if x is equal to 7, then anywhere I see an x in this equation, I should be able to write the number 7. So that's what I'm going to do. X equals 7 in for x. That leaves me with the equation 7 minus 4 squared plus y plus 2 squared is equal to 36. It also tells me that I already have part of my two possible solutions. And I'm just going to guess at this point there are two. Maybe I'll end up with only one or with 0. I know that my x value has to be 7 for both potential points. So this and this both would have 7 since x is always equal to 7. And I just need to find my two y values. And this equation is now set up perfectly for solving for y, since the only variable that we have in this equation is y. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify first and then solve for y. 7 minus 4 is 3, and 3 squared is 9. So I end up with 9 plus y plus 2 squared equals 36. Subtracting 9 from both sides, I have y plus 2 squared is equal to 27. Now this is where mistakes are frequently made. What we need to do at this point is we need to get rid of this squared. And I think that we're all pretty comfortable with taking the square root of something. So here we end up with y plus 2 is equal to, well, what is the square root of 27? Well, the square root of 27 is 5.196. 5.196. But there's something here that people often forget. And that is when you take the square root of a number, you actually get not just one result, but two. You're going to get a positive and a negative, because I could have squared 5.196 and gotten 27, or I could have squared negative 5.196 and gotten 27. So that means right here I actually have two answers. And you might remember this from last year. What you're going to have to do then is solve two separate equations. In the first equation, what you're saying is y plus 2 is equal to a positive 5.19. In your second equation, what you're saying is y plus 2 is equal to a negative 5.196. So you're going to have to solve these two separately. Thankfully, both of them will be pretty easy to solve. And by the way, just make sure that anytime you're doing the square root sign that you end up with the plus or minus in front of it. The reason why we've been able to skip it previously is because we've only been talking about distance. A coordinate is not a distance, so we can't disregard the negative answer. Alright, so let's solve this one. Subtract 2 from both sides, and you end up with y is equal to 3.19. So I can do, let's do 196. I don't know why I didn't want to add the 6 at the end there. Let's go ahead and fill that in, 3.196. And over here with my brown ones, we've got subtraction of 2 to both sides, and that's going to give us y is equal to a negative 7.196. And those are then the 2 points that satisfy these parameters, where they both are on the circle and they both are on the line x equals 7. If you want to be sure that you have it right, go ahead and put in 7 for x and 3.196 for y in your original circle equation, and it should give you an answer pretty close to 36, though there will be some rounding. Do the same thing with your second value, and again, watch that negative when you're putting it in here, and that will again give you a value that's very close to 36. So make sure that you feel comfortable with these sorts of problems, work through it very slowly and carefully, and whenever you take a square root, be very, very careful that you don't forget the negative. That's it for today. Aside from your practice problems, please check those out on Classroom. As usual, I will be online from 1 till 2, barring any crazy events, so feel free to drop in if you have any questions. Bye!